Hello again, J Spot peeps. Welcome to the J Spot, and thank you so much for taking some of your valuable time to spend with me. Make sure you give us a like, drop a comment, and subscribe. We'd like to have our subscriptions up at least to 100 by the end of the month. I'm going to go a little bit off script today. Still going to end up probably talking about some purpose, but I want to go take a different tact towards that end today. I feel a little bit obligated to speak about what I'm going to speak about today, particularly because tomorrow is Martin Luther King Day, and also because, recently, the last day or so, I think I heard the news about the young boy being gunned down in Philly, leaving school with his mother. And, I, having been a substitute teacher and consider myself somewhat an educator, it kind of, I'm a little bit, I'm beginning to despair. I've been in despair about this for a long time. But it's just, when you consider the political climate, how they've normalized ignorance and violence and criminality, one party has, and a lot of people in America, some of them are neighbors and people that we work with who smile at us but never really tell us how they really feel about us. I think we've overlooked the fact that violence in urban areas has been somewhat normalized also. There's not a there's not a flat a big to do about it anymore. It's almost like, okay, we got them where we want them, let them keep doing it, kind of thing. We've conditioned them. I don't know who he is, but you know. But what I'm going to talk about is purely out of observation. It's not judgment. And, it's not judgment, it's just observation. I'm 67 years old. I grew up down south in segregated south with segregated school, segregated community. Fortunate enough not to have grown up in an era where people were pulling guns out and saying, okay, I'll shoot you because you looked at me. I'll shoot you because I want to get jumped into this gang, or I'll shoot you because some girl, that I want, you dating her, and I have to be better than you. So I didn't see that. I grew up in an era when if you dropped out of high school or you dropped out of school in the black community, you were considered a bum. You couldn't date a girl. It was rare. Number one, because black families were together, father wouldn't let you on the porch. You had to prove a couple of things to him if you dropped out of school. You either had to be in the military or you had a job. It's not like that now. All you have to do now is show a bullet wound and your arrest record. It's glorified. How did we get to that point? 10, 15 years ago, I was on a bus in Patterson going home to Passaic. I didn't have a car at the time. I was on the dollar bus. And the dollar bus stopped in front of the Passaic County Jail and picked up a couple of young black women who had been in the jail visiting their baby daddies. And then it was hot. They got on the bus and they started comparing, bragging about their boyfriends while they were incarcerated. And they had to one up each other every time. And I'm sitting there listening to them, and I got my head down, and I'm thinking to myself, is this what we've come to? Are these the prerequisites now for a young black man in the in Urbania, that he has to have a record or a body and a bullet wound in order to get a girlfriend or to mate? I mean, are we in the jungle? Are we in Brazilian forest somewhere, the Amazon? Are we in Borneo? Where are we at? Are we on the Serengeti plains of Africa, where lions take out the older lion so they can get the pride? And the pride is now welcoming and celebrating violence? Because if the pride is celebrating and welcoming violence, why would the male lion stop if there's no consequence? If he gets rewarded, why would he stop? I'm talking to you right now, black women. If you're listening, not all of you, of course, but I hope you get the gist. If you're rewarding this behavior, how do you expect the children that you have in your community to ever be safe? If you're twerking because your man got locked up or he's out of prison, how do you expect your community to ever change? I was facilitating a group at work a couple of weeks ago. Young black brother, nice guy, you know, really nice kid. Well, grown man, but kid to me. And he was like, Mr. J, what if your environment doesn't allow you to do certain things? And I'm like, what are you saying? You can't? How dare you say you can't? But think about it. As I said to him, I asked him a question. What do you see in your head for your child? What kind of neighborhood would you want for your child? He said, I want a safe neighborhood. I said, well, think about it. If no one ever left their homes and everybody stayed inside, there would be no such thing as society. Society only exists because we go outside. And everything that society offers us are the things that we as individuals bring from our homes. Attitudes, opinions, inventions, all that stuff comes from inside someone's home. So if you don't want drugs on your street in your neighborhood, don't bring them outside. Don't introduce them. If you don't want guns, don't bring guns outside. If you don't want guns in school, don't provide guns for the children to bring to school. You can't form a line if you're afraid to stand alone. And when you say you can't, you're saying, I'm afraid to stand alone. If you don't want a murderer in your community to go free and you know who shot your little cousin in the park, but you won't say anything, don't complain about the conditions. Don't complain about the score if you don't want to get into the game. If the coach of life, if the coach of the community as a coach is calling you into the game and you say no, I'm going to sit on the bench, then you have nothing to say about the end score, about the score at the end of the game, because you didn't do anything to change it. So if the lion is not being held accountable for his actions because the pride is welcoming and celebrating the violence, why would he ever change? Why would he ever change? He has no reason to. Because the people that complain and say, well, it's the man who's keeping us down, the man doesn't live there. Now, I'm not saying that, United States isn't oppressive, because it is. Still is, in many respects. But as individuals are concerned, the man doesn't live there. You live there. He may own the buildings that you live in, but you live there. And you are the ones who are choosing to kill for corners that you don't even own. You're trying to tell somebody they can't stand on a corner that you don't even own. You sound like racist white folks in the South and in the Midwest back in the day. In the in the eastern part of the United States. That's what you sound like. You can't live here. You're redlining your own people. You're redlining drug dealers that your competition. You can't sell on this corner because I do. So, and if I catch you, I'm gonna kill you. Same thing lynch mobs used to do to black folks, but now you're doing it to one another, killing for corners that you don't even own. That's how the man's keeping you down by allowing you to do it to yourself. That way you can't really blame him. That's why they normalize it. That's why they pay you for it to act like that. It's even metastasized its way into professional football. Brothers can't score a touchdown without tap dancing in the end zone and dancing for white folks in the stands. It's ridiculous. Grown millionaires doing things that black folks in the 30s and 40s had to do because they didn't have a choice. Not really. But you get paid millions of dollars and you got choice. You have choices, but still you, stepping and fetching. And the people in the stands that are entertained by you are laughing at you when they leave. And the children in the communities, in the urban communities that see you do it, for them it's learned behavior because they think it's normalized, normal for them. And it causes a lot of despair. We can't continue to kill one another and expect us to be productive or to live our purpose. You have to understand, black folks, we didn't go through all the struggles that we went through just to end up dancing in the end zone of a football field or lying dead in front of a school. We didn't go through all that struggle for that. We didn't go through all that struggle to have grown black women twerking and talking about who likes to get up in this and get into their this and get into that. Not judgment, it's observation. And it's, you know, but it's shameful, mostly because we're losing young, brilliant minds. This young man in Philadelphia, according to what they said, was very, very smart. And as is the tendency of white media, that's the one thing they focus on. Oh, he had a high SAT score. Well, he was also human before that. He was a human being before that. You know, he was human before that. So for all of you naysayers that stand around saying I can't this and how dare you say you can't? How dare you say you can't? How dare you say you can't? We're going to talk some more about this in the future, I'm sure, because I know my high horse stool is in the house, and I'll get on it once in a while. But I love you, black folks. You need to get your act together. It ain't all about big screen TVs and gold chains and tattoos. Can't take none of that stuff with you. You got purpose. We struggle because we have purpose. Stop killing for them corners that you don't own. If you want your child to be safe, be the change you want to see. Be the change you want to see. Come back and see me because we're going to talk about this some more. But in the meantime, thanks for spending some time with me here in the J Spot. Make sure you like, drop a comment, and subscribe. How dare you say you can't? I get bitter, I get angry, and pretty doggone mad. So much that I go on a rant. I feel sorry, embarrassed, and very much sad when I hear us black folks say we can't. How dare you say you can't when your ancestors did every darn thing that their old master did? How dare you say you can't when they worked without shoes till their feet would get blistered and in winter turn blue? How dare you say you can't when they worked in the fields but could not even sleep on the cotton they peeled? How dare you say you can't when they fanned from aloft master's eating table but were fed at the trough? How dare you say you can't when they stood on a box and were sold off at auction like a mule or an ox? How dare you say you can't when the only thing fresh that they got was the blood that was beaten from their flesh? How dare you say you can't as their spirits cry and moan because you're killing for corners that you don't even own? How dare you say you can't when they came to see that the absence of chains doesn't mean that you're free? How dare you say you can't when they long to learn and were willing to die so that you'd have your turn and you won't even take it? How dare you say you can't when they worked and they slaved for 400 years and you won't work one day? How dare you say you can't when the trouble you see pales in comparison to that history? How dare you say you can't as they turn in their graves, 'cause with